So here's a question for you. Would you benefit from ongoing support to improve your sales conversations and ultimately close more business? The Sales Maven Society offers you daily support for your urgent sales questions, an extensive library of bite-sized trainings to hone your selling skills, and monthly live coaching calls where you receive individualized coaching from me specific to your business so that you're able to remove any bottlenecks in your sales process. This is the most robust sales coaching program around for an incredible value of only $147 a month. And you can join now for your first month for only $47. You get access to absolutely everything, including the live coaching calls with me. Come check it out and see if this is the place for you to really elevate your business to the next level. You can do this by going to yoursalesmaven.com/society, hit the join now button. And then when it takes you to that page, enter this code, the number 4, the number 7, and the word trial, TRIAL. So 47 trial, all one word, and you'll be a member. I can't wait to see you in there. Now, here's the podcast.
Do sales conversations make you feel awkward or pushy? It's time to ditch the outdated salesy strategies. Your guide, Nikki will show you how to combine kindness with selling skills to meet your prospects where they are, and in the process, how to up-level your influence and income. Learn how to earn business easily and effortlessly. Here's Nikki.
Welcome, and thank you for listening to the Sales Maven Show. I'm your host, Nikki Rausch. I'm here to help you, offer you tips and techniques and strategies to master your sales conversations. Today's episode is a solo episode, so it's just you and me here today chatting. This particular episode was a request. So if you're wondering, do I take requests? Yes, I do. I would be happy to hear your request. I'll do my best to work it in at some point into the schedule. So this particular topic today is about starting a business. Now, you might be thinking, why I can turn this off now because I've already started my business, so I don't need this content. And that may be the case. However, you might want to stick around for a few minutes just to see if there's something in here that you're not thinking about, you haven't been paying attention to, and hopefully you'll walk away with something useful, something that you can immediately implement into your business. That is always the goal with every piece of content that I put out, that it's something that you can immediately implement in some way. All right, let's dive into this a little bit. So I was thinking about this actually the other day, and I was thinking about, when people start businesses, when we all started our business, there were things that you needed to do. And now some of you might have had your business for a while and still not have done some of these things. So this would be important for you to listen to. And some of you might be like, yeah, I got that. I did it. So it might just be reaffirming. But, one of the things that we absolutely had to do in the beginning was get a business license. Now, I know not everybody thinks that's important, but I do think that is important. So you establish yourself as a real legitimate business right off the bat, right? And then you have to figure out what you're going to sell. So there's that, like, what do you actually do? What is your service or what is your product? And then the third thing is, I'm actually going to list this above sales, is you get an accountant. Unless you're super proficient at doing your books yourself, get an accountant and then learn selling skills. And then there's a lot of other things for you to do. You're going to have to create a website. You're going to have to, come up with an email system. There's all kinds of other things that are going to have to happen. But let's talk about this, the learning to sell piece, because I still know business owners and meet business owners all the time who have been in business for a while and still have not figured out this step. So I'm going to break this down in probably a little bit of a different way. I'm going to bring in the selling staircase. So if you're not familiar with the selling staircase, that's my signature framework for a sales conversation. It is a 5-step process to a sales conversation, but I think that we can apply each step in this idea of starting business. And when you're starting out, there are things that you should absolutely be figuring out right away, because let's face it, it's not easy to attract your ideal clients. It's not easy to get leads in the door. And especially if you don't have a big marketing budget, you're not spending a ton of money on marketing, every single lead has to count. So there are some things that you're going to want to do. So looking at it from my 5-step signature process, the selling staircase, if you're not familiar with this, you can go back and listen to the first episode of this podcast where I really break it down into a little bit more detail. I wrote a book about it if you want to dig in, if you're a reader, or you can even get it on Audible if you want to listen to me read the book to you. I'm happy to do that. And this 5-step process, the idea here is to ensure that you are setting yourself up for success. So step 1 in the selling staircase is the introduction piece. Now, from a sales perspective, there's a lot you can go into here. But from a starting a business standpoint, the thing that I think often people don't think about, and I know I've talked about this on the podcast before, is this introduction piece. It's really about the first impression. How are you showing up? And you have to know who your ideal client is in order to show up in a way that is attractive to your ideal client. So you might know who you want as an ideal client, but if you're not showing up in a way that gets that ideal client interested in you, you're missing a very important piece in order for your business to really take off. And this is definitely something you need to be thinking about in your business, is what is the first impression that you are making? Now, this comes, first impressions come in a lot of ways. They come in the way you're showing up on social media. They come in the way of your website. They come in the way of the emails that you're sending to people when they're joining your list in some way. All of these things are making an impression. And what kind of an impression are you making? And have you ever stepped back and really looked at it from the buyer's perspective? Now, the next step here is the curiosity step. This is the most missed step. It doesn't really matter how long you've been in business. I find that a lot of people still, even having had their business for a while, don't really think about creating curiosity. And yet it's so important to your success, because there is this idea that it is your job to attract people to you. And if you're not attracting people to you, it's pretty hard to earn their business. Like you can, do the shotgun approach to sales and send out 5,000 emails to a bunch of people who don't know you and aren't interested. You don't create any curiosity, and now all you're doing is basically throwing garbage against the wall and hoping something sticks. But most of us are so sick of getting the garbage, right? They show up in our email systems all the time. Now, not only do you have to be creating curiosity in your business, but there's something else you should be thinking about is, are you showing up as a curious person in your business? Are you curious? Are you curious about the people you're in conversation with? Are you curious about what others are doing and their success and how they're achieving it? Because success leaves clues. I don't know if I shared this. I recently had a conversation with somebody, and I could tell she didn't do any homework before getting into a conversation with me. So not that I expect people to do a bunch of research, but even a little scan of the website would have been helpful, or anything. But she kept commenting. It was almost like she was making suggestions to me about what I could do to grow my business. I think 2 of her suggestions. One was I should think about writing a book. to which I said, I've written 3. And then I think she had suggested that I consider starting a podcast, which you're listening, so you already know. I already started a podcast, those kind of things. And I just thought, gosh, she's really lacking any curiosity. Like, she's obviously not curious about me. She's more interested in telling me what she thinks I should do, but it didn't. And then in return, because she's not curious about me, now I'm not really curious about her. And then she did this other thing that I don't recommend, which is she added me to her email list. Didn't ask my permission, didn't create any curiosity for me about her business, but just added me to her email list, which is such a no-no. And I get it, she's new, so I'm going to give her some grace and I'm going to unsubscribe myself, but still, be curious, be interested, because people feel that from you. And when you're not interested in other people, it's hard for people to be interested in you. So curiosity is one of those, I personally think it's one of the best traits in a person. And maybe I'm saying that for selfish reasons, because I am a very curious person by nature. I'm pretty curious. So I don't know. It just goes a long way in relationship building to be curious and to be able to create curiosity. Now, the third step in the selling staircase is the discovery process. And this means showing up with a set list of questions so that you can truly identify when you're in conversation with somebody, are you talking to the right person? And you should be able to ask questions in a way that helps them establish for themselves whether or not they're talking to the right person. And I find that a lot of times in business, we just kind of wing it when we're starting our business. So we don't really think about having some set list of questions or having things that we're prepared for. Now, I am not in any way advocating that you go and do, hours of research about the person that you're going to meet with, or that you prepare all of this information to word vomit all over them. And you could have some set list of questions, right? Back to this curiosity, but also in the discovery piece, you could ask somebody, now, have you published your first book yet? That would be a really nice question versus telling somebody, you should really think about writing a book, to which they respond, I've already written 3. Maybe a break in rapport, just a little. So having some set list of questions and learning how to ask questions, that's such an important piece in sales, but also in life and in business. I've been working with somebody outside of business, frankly, that is working on their own personal development. And one of the things that the person was open to was some feedback from me as to ways that they could really grow personally. And I had suggested that in order to really grow, they might find that connecting with other people would be a really good thing for this person. And, there was this blank look on the face of I don't know how to do that. And I said, ask questions. How about when somebody makes a comment, have a follow-up question? And it's so fun to hear from this person now reporting to me all the time, oh my gosh, this idea of asking people questions, it gets so much information. The person recently shared with me that they were on a walk with somebody and for 45 minutes asked questions of the other person. So it was a great rapport builder. They learned a lot about the person they were in conversation with, and the person they were in conversation with felt very connected. It's like this whole relationship built as a result of it, and it came because they were asking questions. So in your discovery process, in life and in business, ask questions. See what happens when you ask really smart, good questions. It can make the whole thing go so much better. Your business will thrive as a result of you learning how to ask good questions. Now, step 4 in the selling staircase is this idea of a proposal. And when you're starting your business, one of the things that is super important for you to figure out is, what are you really going to sell? What is your offer? If you don't know what you're going to sell, it's pretty hard to do it. And you got to put your offer out in front of people and see who will buy it. This came up in a conversation today, actually. Somebody was asking about, what to charge for this new offer that they wanted to put out. And, the first response that people always want to give is like, oh, your pricing is too low, which, granted, the price was low, but I almost feel like people think it's a badge of honor to tell other people that their pricing is too low. And I just think it's funny in business because you don't actually know if your pricing is too low unless you've tested it in the marketplace. Because if nobody will pay for it, maybe it's not the pricing, maybe there's something else out there. But the fact of the matter is, be willing to test things. And in order to start your business, you have to have an offer, and you've got to start somewhere with your price. So whatever you can get out of your mouth, I know I talk about this a lot. I have a whole training on setting your pricing. And one of the strategies in there is, can you actually say it to another person if they ask you what your price is? Can you say what the price is? Because if you can't, or if you act ashamed when you said it, then you might actually need to make some adjustments to your pricing, because you should be able to say your pricing as if you're saying the time of day. It should be that congruent. It's a statement of fact. It isn't like it's kind of this, or it's, well, it could be that, or, well, it depends. It's such a terrible answer. I asked somebody recently for their pricing. They created curiosity for me enough for me to ask a little bit more about their business, how we might work together. And then I said, can you give me an idea of some pricing? Like, just a ballpark. To which they said, we actually have to get on a live call in order for me I need more information from you before I can give you pricing, which, then I didn't respond because I think that's baloney. Your pricing. I get that you want to ask me information and you want information and you want to build rapport with me, but like dodging that question, that's not going to help you earn business. If you can't say to somebody a range, if you can't talk about what your offer is, it's very hard for your business to grow and take off. And that can be across the board. Even if you've been in business for a while and you have a new offer, you still should have a pricing. You still should be able to talk about what's included in that offer. And it shouldn't necessarily, unless you're doing custom proposals for every single person you come into contact with, which is a hard way to grow a business, frankly. So you should have some idea. Like, it's not their job to create your offer for you. It's not the client's or the prospect's job to create your offer. It's your job. It's your business. So you should know your pricing, or at least a ballpark of your pricing. And saying to somebody like, I can only give you pricing if I get on the phone with you, it's kind of a throwaway line. For me, it's an indicator of like, I probably don't want to get on the call with this person because they're probably not very good at sales. That's actually what I think. Because if you're confident about what your pricing is, you should be able to just say it. Okay. Last step in the selling process is closing. And this is that idea, like, in business, you do not get a pass. Just like with your business, like, you don't get to say to the IRS, like, oh gosh, I didn't realize I was supposed to pay you taxes. They don't go, oh yeah, well, if you didn't realize, no worries, we'll just write it off. They're never going to say that, ever. And your prospective client, if you don't know how to close in business, if you don't know how to issue close language, if you're not clear as to what that next step is and issuing those invitations, your prospects are not going to give you a pass. They're going to act like the IRS and go, that's on you. That's your responsibility to know how to do, not mine. And so when I was thinking about creating this episode based on this question that somebody had asked me, like, what are some of the fundamentals of starting a business? Like, you've got to know how to close, and you'll never get to the close in a sales process if you don't know the other steps that I just gave you before. You likely rarely get to the close. So then you miss the opportunity to earn somebody's business. So it's very, very important that you learn this step, that you learn the whole steps, right? Like all 5 steps of a sales conversation, all 5 steps you apply to your business so that you actually get to the place where we can set ourselves up in the conversation to exchange dollars for services. So closing, it's so, so important. And you don't get a pass. You don't get to say to the person like, oh, well, I didn't close you because I didn't really know if I should or not. They're not going to give you a pass. They're going to look at you and go, you're in business, right? You should know how to do this. It's expected. And even though I feel bad because honestly, sales is not something that's easy to teach. It's not something that's taught well, in my opinion, by very many people. And it's not something you learn to do in school, right? So nobody's necessarily giving you sales coaching and training, but it is your job to seek this out, just like it's your job when you're starting your business to figure out how to make your payments to the IRS and how to, get your business license and figure out how to get a website established. It is absolutely your job to learn how to sell. So I hope this was helpful. I hope that there was maybe a takeaway or 2 in there and that you've really thought about this and how it would apply to your business. Thank you so much for listening. And thank you for asking for the episode that you want to hear. This may not have been it for you personally. And if you have an episode that you're like, I'm just waiting for Nikki to record a sales episode or a Sales Maven podcast about X, Y, and Z, please reach out to me. You're invited. I would be happy to hear your suggestions and I'll do my best to work it into the podcast at some point. You can always reach out to me through my website. You can reach out to me through my email. It's all in the show notes there for you. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for listening. I wish you so much success in all the things that you're doing in business. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks for listening to Sales Maven. Visit us online at yoursalesmaven.com/maven for more resources to boost your confidence and skills.